Okay, so Carl Higbee Sellers, branded, is well known for giving us some of the derpier takes we find on Newsmax. But here he's going to give us a history lesson.
That I want to point out here that I see as very important details as these strikes are literally happening right in front of our eyes. And what
they're literally not happening right in front of your eyes. They are happening. You are watching video. They are very far away. Okay, Carl, dipshit, buddy. Literally right in front of your eyes. You would have to be in Tehran somewhere around here. You're not. These are videos. It's a screen. You'll be okay.
We can see, but there's a bunch of stuff behind the scenes. And I think this should be a lesson, especially to anyone, any of the neocons, the John Boltons who've never met a war they don't like. America didn't strike anything. And obviously they made it very clear with both Secretary Marco Rubio and Trump posting statements last night. Marco Rubio said, quote, "We're not involved in strikes against Iran. Our top priority is protecting American forces in the region. Let me be clear, Iran should not target the U.S. interest or personnel." And Trump also put up on Truth Social, "I gave Iran a chance after chance to make a deal."
I gave Iran a chance after chance.
But Donald Trump,
well, then you obviously took those chances are over because they didn't make a deal, so you approved of this, I guess?
Thinking about this, and I'm like, did he just outsource the destruction of our enemy? I mean, it's always, in the past, and especially, look, I was a SEAL for 9 years. Okay, in the past, it's always been us who's been doing the heavy lifting with our dollars and our soldiers' lives at risk. None of that was expelled here. And
isn't this awesome? We're using proxies just like Iran, sort of, but not.
The enemy of America was, in large part, disabled. But Israel's saying Trump maybe knew about it or he was okay with the strike. Look, I only point this out because of when the strikes happened. Check this out right here, okay? If you didn't see this, quote, Trump tells Iran make a deal or it's war, and that, look at that. Look at the date on this, April 11th, okay? So April 11th, the strikes happened the day after the 60-day mark.
Right. Yeah, we know. We were all keeping track.
Maybe not a coincidence there.
No, not a coincidence at all.
Here's what
it's correlative.
Trump sees, though, which I think is every Democrat and honestly a lot of Republicans fail to realize. The number one talking point on this issue is that, you know, the Democrats are just saying, oh, this is Trump's fault that Iran is getting a nuclear weapon.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it is.
Trump tore up the Obama's nuclear deal, the JCPOA agreement, which allowed Iran to work towards building a nuke. That's always what they say. But as with most...
Well, no, the deal stopped them from working towards building a nuke.
Most things Democrats say, and most things that come out of their mouth, not entirely accurate. In fact, most...
not entirely accurate.
It's complete garbage. In fact, none of this is Trump's fault. They've been...
Well, of course not. I mean, this is Newsmax.
Iran's been working towards a nuke for almost 5 decades. To understand this, the country...
Yeah, but the deal was that they would stop. Like, you've been working towards being a dipshit for 5 decades, I'm guessing. Somewhere approaching 5 decades.
That shouts...
You obviously paused it a couple of years to give service to the country, and we greatly appreciate it. And then as soon as you were out, it was game on.
Openly, like death to America and Israel. If you want to understand this, you got to go back to 1980. Iran secretly revived their nuclear program in the 80s. They lied about it on a national stage until 2002.
So this is Reagan's fault.
When one of their reactors was revealed by a political dissident. Okay, this prompted Iran to ramp up enriching uranium towards weapon grades, which they told the world they weren't doing, because that's what they do. They lie about stuff. Then we found out in 2000.
So then we should have struck them a long time ago?
2007, Iran was secretly operating about 3,000 centrifuges. That year, the secret enrichment facility was exposed in Iran, which they claimed was only for medical purposes. This is another lie. And Trump wasn't even on the national political stage yet, so you can't even blame him for this. By 2013, by the way, Trump's still not on the national stage in 2013, Iran had over 18,000 centrifuges.
Yeah, this is all before the deal was struck.
No, they had enough enriched plutonium, if further enriched, for one bomb that could be obtained in a matter of months at that point. And the world the world order just completely freaked out, pushing Obama.
Yes, well, not the New World Order, the day-old world order.
To do something. He had to do anything. So they came up with a stupid deal. Now keep in mind, all this was happening in defiance of already in place international agreements and inspections requirements.
So how are you arguing against striking Iran then?
Then in 2015, Obama's last year in office, along comes the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. That's the JCPOA, the Obama's Iran nuclear deal that the left praises. It allegedly reduced, Iran's stockpile by 98%. It limited its enrichment to like 3.6%, which is nowhere close to refined enough for a bomb. It cut their centrifuges to 6,104, all in exchange for the world to drop huge amounts of sanctions, resulting in Iran getting access to as much as $150 billion back into their economy. Remember those pallets of cash? Obama flew into Iran in the middle of the night? Yep.
That was Iranian money that they just got back. We didn't pay them. We didn't give them funds. That was their money from oil sales that had been sitting in banks.
Some of that money. And what did Iran do with that money? It's not like they went out and planted flowers on the main streets of Tehran. Trump noted this in 2019. Quote, President Obama made a desperate and terrible deal with Iran, gave them $150 billion plus $1.8 billion in cash. Iran was in big trouble and he bailed them out, gave them a free path to nuclear weapons. Yeah. And the left went wild over this. No, their facilities are inspected by the UN. This is denuclearized Iran. Is it denuclearized?
Yes. Yeah, up till that point, stupid.
Turns out not really. When we don't actually know what they got rid of or what they were doing or anything at all, actually, because here from Vice News, this is in 2015 after the
Oh, yeah, hold on. I've seen this one before. Hold on. Linked document. Iran will be allowed, to inspect themselves. Yeah. According to the Parchin Agreement, named for the site where Iran was believed to be developing a nuclear weapon, was a secret agreement brokered between the IAEA and Iran. It was separate from the deal reached last month between the. This is the part. It's important. This is the part. Let's see if he skips to this part, but I would like to show you this piece right here. The Parchin Agreement, named for the site where Iran was believed to be developing a nuclear weapon, was a secret agreement brokered between the IAEA and Iran. It was separate from the deal reached last month between the U.S., Iran, and 5 other nations, but the U.S. was aware of its details and had previously endorsed it. Oops, sorry.
JCPOA was signed. Leaked documents show that Iran was allowed to self-inspect. And then they could take those self-inspections and report it to the UN. I mean, what could go wrong? Iran would never lie about their nuclear weapons progress, would they? And the point is, it doesn't matter what agreement has been in place or what sanctions or anything else. Iran has been building a nuclear weapon since 1980.
So why are you saying we shouldn't bomb them? At this point, again, it should be all clear.
They've been more or less open with it in order to get more or less sanctions lifted, but their mission hasn't changed. And since they chant death to Israel and death to America in their streets openly and have largely...
By the way, even in the Parchin Agreement, where they self-inspected, they still didn't enrich enough uranium for a weapon. They still don't have it. It's pretty well known by our intelligence, by the UN, by everybody else, and they don't have the capacity for this. They've tried a couple of explosions before that, but it didn't actually work. They don't have the capacity because of the deal.
They failed to adhere to any,
even with the self-inspection part.
Nuclear enrichment guidelines. Israel just decided to blow up all their facilities and kill a bunch of scientists working on it, which I'm fine with.
Then what are we talking about?
And in case there's any question of who the good guys are here, notice how when Israel strikes, it's pretty much only military targets, but when Iran strikes, they just lob whatever they can, wherever they can, with a general target that just hits cities. They usually just try to kill or destroy whoever or whatever they can to inflict pain, not strategic damage. Look, this is a war.
That's because their intel sucks too, because they couldn't find a target with both hands.
we don't have to get roped into right now. We literally have to do nothing and watch the enemy of the United States get completely decimated.
Right. Okay. So that's the idea is that, well, what happens if they run out of arms or they need help batting away some of these things? And then we are automatically a part of this because Trump has moved more ships into the area. You're not talking to me. So are you saying this to Trump?
So before any of the neocons or any of the senators or congressmen who are warmongers jump in and say, hey, I want to do that.
Also, again, the fact that the right has the fucking gall to try and throw the phrase warmonger around, I find particularly absurd because it is not, like they use it when it comes to something like Ukraine, where Ukraine was attacked by Russia. Post October 7th, you'd argue that I've seen people on the far left and the far right using warmonger around as if that's really the situation. That any war that breaks out, there are two parties in a war, both are equally at they're two villains always, which is not the case, especially in the case of Ukraine. But they throw the word, fucking Marjorie Taylor Greene, this dickhead, they throw the phrase warmonger around like crazy. And obviously what they mean is, I guess, ironmongers, because they're talking about like the military industrial complex kind of idea. But that's still no reason not to let Ukraine defend itself. But it's amazing to me how they're like, well, it was inevitable that, Iran was going to have to get dusted off. So I don't even know why we were holding back this whole time, but we were the ones that pushed Russia to attack Ukraine because 8 years ago, somebody mentioned that they might join NATO eventually.
Yes, I want to do that. Why not?
Even though Finland and Sweden are and they have a bigger border.
You just sit back, do nothing for a change, have a margarita and say, hey, thanks, Israel.
What's a margarita?
I've been in and out of a lot of war. I'd like to avoid it with American lives as long as I can.
Sorry, you don't want to avoid it when it's other people's lives? That's adorable. That's it. That's that good old-fashioned Newsmax Christianity.
And the more we get out of Israel's way, the less we're going to have to worry about this, which means less U.S. military, less money, and less troops in danger.
Okay. Yeah, that's exactly what he's talking about. So the plan is no rules of engagement. Our mistake has been, according to these guys, having rules of engagement. The problems we've been holding back. We should have just let Iran or whoever our proxy at the time was in any of these situations absolutely obliterate whoever's in their way so that we don't have to go in there. Yeah, have your margaritas go well with tacos, I guess.